Okay, so ready to talk about the future of work
Yeah.
because Amazon's kind of shaking things up right now with this whole remote work situation. Remember, like way back in the beginning of the pandemic, everybody's scrambling to figure out this whole working from home thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It felt like were we heading into this like new era of flexibility for everyone?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it really seemed that way, especially in tech. I mean, where, remote work was already, becoming more common.
right? Exactly. And now we've got Amazon, which is, I mean, come on, they're one of the biggest tech companies out there. And they're basically like hitting the rewind button 5 days a week back in the office by January 2025.
Wow.
No more hybrid, no more full-time remote. Which, I mean, that's kind of a big deal when so many industries are kind of going the other way.
Huge. Yeah. It's a pretty bold move. I mean, especially if you think about it, Amazon wasn't exactly like the poster child for remote work even before the pandemic hit.
Right.
Back then, you practically had to like drag yourself in with like, a doctor's note to work from home a couple of days a week. So it's not just going back to the way things were, it's like they're really doubling down on everyone being in the office.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And it's, I don't know, it's causing some waves for sure. Think about it like from the employee's perspective. Like we saw that article, right, about the Amazon employee who leaked that internal Q&A to Raiders, and people were, well, let's just say they weren't exactly thrilled.
Right.
You've got people who moved who like changed their whole careers even, thinking that this flexibility was, the new normal.
Yeah, and we can't forget about, I mean, remember that employee walkout back in May of 2023?
Yeah.
I mean, even when it was just 3 days a week, they were pushing back, talking about, work-life balance and commutes and, all that. And those are, I mean, those are just going to be even louder now.
Yeah, it's like this tug of war, between what companies think they want and then like what people are actually asking for.
Yeah.
So it's just Amazon like flexing, you know, trying to like take back control.
It's a good question. And it's interesting because we're in this, kind of a weird time, right? Where the economy is uncertain. And it seems like a lot of companies are kind of, I don't know, tightening their grip a little bit. This idea that they need more control, more oversight. Everyone has to be, where they can see them. But then at the same time, you've got companies like Spotify and Dropbox who are like all in on remote and hybrid.
It's true.
Yeah.
So it's not like every company's making this big shift. It's more like there's a fork in the road now,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
everybody's picking a direction.
Yeah, and the thing is, and this is what I find so interesting, this whole surge in remote work during the pandemic, it actually really helped a lot of these tech companies
Yeah.
because all of a sudden they had access to, I mean, a global talent pool, which, if we're being honest, is like essential in tech, right? When
Yes,
you need
exactly.
these really specific skills. So it's not immediately obvious why Amazon's doing such a 180.
Especially when they already had a hybrid model in place.
Right.
So if it's not just about money or even just getting the best talent, then what is it about? What's the deal with this whole joined at the hip idea?
Well, their CEO, Andy Jassy, he's been pretty upfront about it,
Okay.
He keeps saying, like, they need this deeply connected collaboration and they got to make decisions faster.
Mhm.
He even called it, get this, operating like a startup. Like, that's what he wants Amazon to be.
Okay, but joined at the hip. I mean, that's a little, I don't know. It makes you wonder if it's like less about working together and more about someone, keeping a close eye on everybody. And the whole startup thing. It's like, yeah, startups are supposed to be all, move fast and break things, but isn't that usually just code for like crazy hours and tons of pressure and no like work-life balance whatsoever?
Yeah, no, totally. It's funny how often the fantasy of startup life is like the exact opposite of how it actually is.
Exactly.
And Jazzy's whole thing about, what was it? You have to be like joined at the hip with your teammates when inventing, solving problems, and sharing. But like, I mean, where's the proof that being in the office all the time actually makes people more, creative and stuff? Couldn't it just as easily like kill creativity and burn people out?
Totally. And don't forget, a lot of companies, they were all about remote work because they thought it would help people, with work-life balance, attract better talent, all that. If Amazon's trying to be like, startup 2.0 or whatever, are they just going to scare away a bunch of people who actually, like having some flexibility and control over their work?
It's definitely a risk. I mean, let's be real. There are some downsides to everybody being in the office, right? I mean, think about it. Distractions, unnecessary meetings, the commute, oh, and paying for the commute, all that stuff, that just eats into your time and energy. It can't help productivity or morale,
Yeah. Yep.
not to mention, what it does to the environment with everyone driving every single day.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, haven't there been studies that show remote work or even just like hybrid models can actually make people more productive in a lot of cases?
Absolutely.
Like when people have more control over their space and their time, they get more done.
It makes sense. When you're not stressed about, life stuff you can't take care of because you're stuck at your desk, you're naturally going to be more focused on work,
Yep. Yeah.
happier at work, less stressed in general. It's not rocket science.
So, I don't know, it seems like there are good arguments on both sides of this.
Right.
So now what? Is there like a right answer? Are we all just like part of some big experiment we didn't sign up for?
I mean, if I had the magic answer right.
Right.
Sadly, I think it really depends. What works for one company or one person even might be a total disaster for someone else.
And right now it's like everybody's trying something different. So like, what are people supposed to do? If you're looking for a new job right now or thinking about it, I mean, it's a lot to like factor in. It really is. It's like, how do you even, find your people in all of this?
I think the biggest thing is you have to, really think about what matters most to you. What are your priorities? Like, what are you absolutely not willing to budge on?
Mm-hmm.
If working remotely is like non-negotiable, then focus on companies that get that, companies that are all about that remote life.
Right.
And don't be shy about asking about it, even if it doesn't like explicitly say it in the job description. Just, ask.
It's like dating, You got to know what your deal breakers are right from the start.
Exactly.
Mm.
And just like, with any relationship, communication is like everything. If you're already working somewhere and it's, hybrid now, but you're hearing whispers about going back to the office full time, don't wait until they make a decision,
Right.
Talk to your manager. Tell them what you want. Show them how well you've been working remotely. Be ready to, have a real conversation about it.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to company culture too, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Are we like moving towards this future where companies are basically like, this is who we are, this is how we work, take it or leave it?
I think it's a real possibility. Imagine, some companies are known for being remote first, and they're going to attract people who are all about that, right? People who want that freedom and flexibility.
Mhm.
And then you've got companies like Amazon, where it's all about being in the office, that energy, all that. And they're going to attract a different kind of person, someone who thrives in that environment, who likes, constantly collaborating and all that.
So it's not even just about where you're working, it's about like the whole vibe.
It's the whole package. Finding the right company, it's like finding a culture that, that really fits with what you value, how you like to work.
It's a lot, but I think having these conversations, really thinking about what's important, it helps.
Yeah.
Right? It helps us make better choices.
Definitely.
So like next time you're stuck in traffic on your way to the office, ask yourself, like, is this really how I want to be spending my time?
Right.
Is there something better out there? That's all I'm saying. Something to think about.